Dana White just announced UFC 320. He did it very enthusiastically, might I say, and the card is stacked. Probably the best card of the year. The main event is Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev 2. And let me just say that it's interesting to me that this fight is happening in Vegas, just 3 weeks before the pay-per-view in Abu Dhabi. I'm curious as to what went into that decision to do that. Just for context, there's no pay-per-view in September. The next pay-per-view is on August 19th between Dricus and Hamza, and the one after that is in October. So I think maybe the UFC wanted their biggest star possible on the card that's going to feel like the first pay-per-view in a while. So they would just rather have Pereira headline that. That's the only thing I can think of. There was also rumors about Pereira going up to heavyweight and that his next opponent was actually going to be Tom Aspinall. The reason for this was because he was showing how much he weighed, and he was up to 247 pounds. Because he's getting older, he doesn't have many fights left, so it was time for heavyweight. Now I would assume if he were to lose this fight, then the next move for him would definitely be heavyweight. I don't think he would lose 2 fights to Ankalaev and then just fight Jiri or Khalil again. Those fights feel meaningless if neither of them are champions. But I also wasn't sure this fight was going to happen. Ankalaev and Pereira were going back and forth, and it seemed that one of them was maybe holding up the fight, but I guess not. Also, if Pereira were to win this fight, then we may have a potential trilogy on our hands. My early prediction though is going to be another Ankalaev victory. I could obviously say that Pereira just wasn't himself in that first fight, but he's getting older and I think this is just a bad stylistic matchup for him. I picked Ankalaev to win their first fight, but he didn't win it in the way that I thought he would. Thought he was going to take him down, and Pereira wasn't really going to be able to get back up. I thought he would survive on the ground, but he would just kind of stay there. I thought it was going to be a boring fight, but Pereira did a good job defending takedowns, but Ankalaev just outboxed him. I don't see why this fight would play out differently. I think Pereira has many things to worry about with Ankalaev in front of him, whereas Ankalaev clearly knows exactly what Pereira wants to do. There's no secrets there. But this is a big fight for Pereira. He's probably done in the light heavyweight division if he loses, and it's just crazy how narratives flip. Seeing where some people had Pereira ranked all time after he beat Rountree, and how fast all of that changed after he lost one fight to Ankalaev. So it's a big fight for Alex, but my early prediction is that Ankalaev wins another decision. I'm going to pick him to win 48-47. The co-main for 320 is Merab versus Cory Sandhagen. Merab is making a pretty fast turnaround, and this is going to be his 3rd fight this year too. I think the consensus right now is obviously that Merab beats Sandhagen, but I still think this fight is interesting. The way Merab beats people is obviously by his cardio. He doesn't care if he doesn't get the takedown, he just won't stop trying. He'll look the same in round 5 as he did in round 1. But I think Cory could maybe turn this into a fight where he just tries to edge out rounds by the closest margins to get the win. But ultimately, I'm happy that this fight is a co-main event, as well as Merab has done to make the fans who initially hated him because of his style. As good of a job he's done by making people like his personality and by emoting in the cage, I still wouldn't want this fight to main event a pay-per-view, but as a co-main, sign me up. For my early prediction, I just don't know if I can pick against Merab at this point. I did give O'Malley a chance in his fights, as stupid as it may sound, but I gave him a chance because of his knockout power, and I've seen Merab rocked a couple times. But Sandhagen doesn't have that. He doesn't have that one-shot knockout power. Like I said earlier, he's going to have to edge out 3 rounds, and can he do that? Umar won the first 2 rounds against Merab, and then didn't win a round after that. Can I trust Sandhagen to win 3 rounds? I don't think I can. I don't care how good your cardio is, it just won't be on the same level as Merab. So I'm going to pick Merab to win a 49-46 decision. Jiri Prochazka versus Khalil Rountree is also on this card. This is the fight I wanted, but it wasn't the one I was expecting. I was fairly sure that it was going to be Jiri versus Carlos Ulberg for the number 1 contender. But this is now going to be the feature fight on 320. And I don't know if a feature fight has been turned into 5 rounds, but can they do that for this fight? This fight may not even make it to round 4, but if somehow it does, I want to see rounds 4 and 5, especially because it is for a title shot. I feel like most number 1 contender fights should be 5 rounds. Let's see a 5-round fight before they get awarded with a title shot. I mean, this fight should be a war. And somebody like Jiri is just not going to let Khalil do to him what Jamal Hill let Khalil do to him. When I say that, I'm not saying that Khalil can't beat him. I'm saying that Jiri won't let the fight play out the way Hill let it play out. It could work against him, but the fight will not be 5 rounds of little action like Rountree versus Hill was. That fight was hyped up to be much better than it actually ended up being. So for my early prediction on this fight, this is the one that I'm most likely going to change my mind on and go back and forth leading up to the fight. But for now, I think I'm leaning towards Rountree. I could see him frustrating Jiri forcing Jiri to get a little too aggressive and just play right into Khalil's game. I'm depending on Khalil having the power to put out Jiri. That's a big if, because even Pereira in the first fight didn't have him fully out. Alexander Rakic rocked Jiri before Jiri ultimately ended up winning the fight, so it's a big if, but I'm relying on Khalil to have that power. So my final early prediction, probably going to change, but as of right now, I think I'm going to pick a round 3 knockout win for Rountree. I also really like the fact that this is on the same card as Pereira versus Ankalaev. This way, both fighters will be on the same timeline. The press conference could feature some moments between the fighters, even though Jiri and Khalil aren't really trash talkers, so the interactions between them and the interactions between them and Pereira will likely just be respectful, but Ankalaev may be ready to talk trash. Maybe Ali will feed him some lines, and it feels like Pereira is already on edge when it comes to Ankalaev, so the animosity between them should be good enough at the press conference. All in all, there's nothing to really complain about this card. These 3 fights are perfect. We'll see how the rest of the card looks, but this is a perfect start. It took long enough. We've been complaining about cards not being worth what the UFC is valuing them recently, but this is the type of card we have been asking for. Dana also announced Tom Aspinall versus Gane at UFC 320 in Abu Dhabi, but I'll make a separate video for that because there's so many things to touch on in regards to that fight. So the UFC, they put together a great card, finally. But until next time, peace.